Papi, I'm back. Hello, Lorimbo, papi. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? And here we go, spawning the bottom right-hand corner of Golden Aura. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing DragonKy DragonKy Gaming. It is Dark. I've been there before. I've had the urge. I think Rex is having fun with Hearthstone, but I don't blame Hearthstone. I've loaded into a game that I'm casting, and I've opened up the chat box, and I've almost typed GLHF, just like from muscle memory, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not playing. It happens. Sporting the top left, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Terran player representing himself, the ESL Master Summer runner-up. It is GuMiho. That's a bienvenidos. Welcome back, Lorimbo. Welcome back. So we have our hatch first coming in. I'm going to be keeping my eyes on Dark as to how he's going to be opening up here. And it is going to be a hatch gas pool. Okay, standard opener out of Dark. Likewise, GuMiho, he's always been a very quirky player. He's been very unorthodox. And now that we have the new patch, now that we have the new maps, he's like one of the players that I'm going to be looking at here to be an innovator, to kind of think outside the box, try out some new units, try out some new builds, and bring something new to the table. My eyes are on you, GuMiho. There are certain players like that. There's GuMiho, there's Future, I think Special as well. When it comes to the Terrans, I think there are some more adventurous Terran players out there that are willing to, again, just experiment a little bit more. When it comes to the Protoss, Estrella is probably a big one. Estrella, Hero as well. Just willing to explore, be adventurous, do their own thing. And for now, it is just going to be a Rax Expand out of our Terran player. Reaper is going to be moving out to get a bit of scout off, and so far, the openers have been pretty standard. Dark is making 6 slings, but he always makes 6 slings here in the early game just to be safe and secure. A little bit inefficient, but you know, it's just Dark. He wants to make sure he's safe. Just being careful, but as drones are being focused down so far, quick gas guys are there from Dark. It does keep his workers alive, and Dark will not lose a single unit as he does force that Reaper out of the main base. Meanwhile, back at home, it is going to be a 3cc before starport. A very economic opener out of GuMiho, going for a much faster third on Golden Aura. So GuMiho, he won't be aggressive or overly aggressive on 2 bases. He's going to be chilling out, is going to be calming down. Can we predict the chances of Dark making banelings? I mean, even last patch, Dark, he's a Roach boy, right? Dark, he's always been a Roach boy at heart. Especially on Golden Aura. We spoke about this in DRG versus Future. I'm sorry, not DRG, DRG versus Kelazar, Diego. If you weren't here earlier today, when casting DRG versus Kelazar, we were talking about how specifically on Golden Aura, these Roach all-ins are quite common. They can work quite well. Rush distance by ground is very short, and because of that, you can take advantage of that here on this map. And there it is. Early Roach one gets thrown down. DRG did go for a Roach Queen all-in, which killed Kelazar. We'll see if Dark does the same. Once again, that is an early Roach Warren from him. Link speed is not researched. Hellions going to be poking on forward here, threatening the area between the natural and the third. So far, the queens are defending. This is a reason why we have seen Dark open up gasless on this map before, because you don't need links. You don't need links to defend. You have queens at these like central choke points are more than enough to hold on. Meanwhile, we have a medevac on the way. Hellions as well. GuMiho is looking for a bit of an earlier push. Okay, it is still 3cc, don't get me wrong. But GuMiho wants to be in the face of his opponent. Meanwhile, 10 Roaches are on the way. A lair on the way behind this as well. Now, I'm curious if this is only to clean up Overlords or if GuMiho intends to commit. And here we go. 6 Hellions are moving out alongside 3 Marines. Did I say 6 Hellions? I meant to say 8. And they will come across the Roaches. Roaches have been found out. Now, does Dark turn back around? He did for a moment. But here we go. He's committing to his push. He has a couple of roaches back at home to defend, but the Hellions, they don't care. They ignore the roaches. They push into the natural base, into the mineral line. Boys are pulled away. The queens are in position. They plug up the wall. There is no way in. The Hellions get locked down. And the Hellions get cleaned up at the same time across the map. Roaches do bust into the natural base. There's nothing back at home to defend. There is one Marauder and a bunker. Marauder barely goes down. We even catch some of the Cyclones. Pretty good pickups here from Dark, but he will be losing his units in the end. But he's sending his reinforcements across the map. He's not done. He is not done. I don't know if he can do any more damage at the natural, though. There is still that one Cyclone. Reinforcements have arrived. The Roach goes down. Oh, what of us? Can we get the Cyclone? We can. We will get the Cyclone in the end. One Marauder remaining, but here come the reinforcements, and Dark should be cleaned up. But before that happens, he gets a couple more SCVs. 3 more workers go down. Whew, and now the dust will settle. Again, Dark, I do think he overextended with some of these roaches, and another roach is going to go down for free. Looking at the units lost, it was 12 roaches for Dark. Bearing in mind that he didn't lose any workers, right? This could have been so much worse, but he didn't lose any workers. That is natural. He was able to shut down all the Hellions. He killed the medevac, killed a couple of Cyclones. We were able to have a back and forth trade, but Dark does maintain his economy. 4th base is on the way, actually double expanding, taking a 4th and a 5th, and working towards 1-1. We do have a timing with 1-1 on the way. Meanwhile, GuMiho is not playing mech. He was forced to make those Cyclones earlier just to survive against the roaches. And that's another interesting thing, actually. Cyclones are cheaper, and if you're panicking, if you're being all in, or if you're dealing with a roach push, you can on the fly make some Cyclones, and they can keep you alive. Meanwhile, the roaches, they arrive, and they do force a cancel on the CC. Very nice pick-off. One Cyclone will go down. It looks like we have an abundance of roaches. We can get on top of the other. GG gets called. There's just too much here, and Dark takes game 1. GG. GuMiho not going for any tanks, investing quite heavily into his production to a 4th CC, and Dark catches him with his pants down. He was exposed, Papi, he was exposed. GG, well played. Dark will take the first game. And again, Golden Aura, it does seem to be one of those maps where you can be just hyper aggressive early on. Even at that point, I believe Dark didn't even have roach speed, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe he did. Hold on. Let me just double check. Regardless, you can be quite aggressive on this map, especially with, you know, roaches, as typically it would take them a while to get across the map, but again, it has a very short rush distance, and he was able to take advantage of that, able to take down GuMiho. And with that, we're getting into game number 2. To game número 2. Which is going to be taking place on Data Site? Yeah. Sorry, Site Delta. That's it. God damn it. Site Delta. Green map. It's going to be coming up next. Once we get everyone ready. And we'll see, again, if GuMiho is able to adjust to his opponents. I wouldn't be surprised if Dark does open up roaches again. I don't think he's going to be as aggressive with them as he was in game 1. Site Delta, the rush distance is a bit longer than Golden Aura, so it is going to take longer to get across the map. And I'm sure GuMiho is going to be a lot more on notice and a lot more wary of early game roaches. So he will be that much more vigilant when it comes to his scouting. On top of that, it didn't help that he committed into a massive, like, Hellion dive and he lost everything for not any workers or any economic damage. But here we go. We're getting into game number 2 and spawning in the top left hand corner of Site Delta, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing KranKy Z Gaming, leading the series 1-0. It is Dark. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Site Delta, we have his opponent. We have the ESL Master Summer runner-up down in the series, but not out. It is GuMiho. I just sneezed. We're good, Pappy. We're good. So we are getting into this. Dark gonna be going hatch first. GuMiho, ooh, interesting. Setting up a low ground wall here with this Rax. Okay. So GuMiho already going to be shifting gears. With this, I imagine GuMiho is going to be going for a Rax into factory. I do not believe this is the Bjorn opener or the low ground 2 Rax opener that we have seen popularized by Bjorn. This is something that very few Terran players do. I believe GuMiho, Special, and Future are the only ones that come to mind that go for this. Yeah, it's very stylistic to them. I believe Special started this, and maybe GuMiho has since adopted it. There we go. We have the first Reaper on the way, and it's just a way to be like really safe early on. You get a really early wall off here on the low ground. Able to be a little bit more quote-unquote efficient with your buildings, of course, to be able to wall off and be safe. Getting to the factory. The downside is that this is easier to scout because the pillar is right next to this, so Dark sees everything, and he of course knows it's not a 2-on-1, for example. On top of that, it also makes it awkward to add-on swap. If we're going to be throwing down a starport eventually, if we want to go into Banshees, for example, it is going to be that much more awkward to get into that. So there's some upsides, but there's also some downsides to it. As Reaper does get across the map, Lings are in position. Going to try and focus on some of these drones, but Dark does pull away in time. Does preserve his units. Oh, looks like one Ling. No, oh my, Dark. Pulling back the weakened Ling. Very smooth micro out of Dark. A little bit unnecessary, but again, he keeps all his units alive for now. Behind this, oh my, okay, we do have an add-on swap, which is spotted, I believe, by the Overlord does see everything, does confirm the add-on swap, and we are getting into not Hellions, but Cyclones, and we're making more Reapers. Oh my god. GuMiho. And taking advantage of the new patch. For those wondering, you no longer need a tech lab to create Cyclones. You can make them 2 at a time with this reactor. And GuMiho, I wonder, do we just make 2? Okay, we're only gonna be making 2. We have Hellions on the way behind this. Overlord is gonna be shut down by these Cyclones. I do appreciate that we're making Hellions though, because the biggest weakness of Cyclones, especially this early on, are Speedlings. Speedlings completely shut them down, but Hellions do help support them, and they do help just give them a little bit more staying power. Not just Hellions, but also these Reapers as well. Meanwhile, Dark back at home, he's amassing Lings, getting ready for GuMiho to maybe overextend. As GuMiho does throw down that starport in the main base, going for the tech lab on the starport as well. Lings are moving out, and Dark is going for the surround. He does catch the Cyclones. The 2 Hellions, they get here a little bit too late. The 3rd and 4th Hellion, by the time they arrive, the Cyclones have been shut down, and that is all that matters. Only Hellions remain. And that was the backbone of the army. That was the backbone of this marauding force. Now gone. Hellions, they can be dealt with by queens. You just have to keep up and zone them away. Oh, as we throw down 3 more Raxes. 3 more Raxes alongside a CC, so not going to be a 2 base all in. We are working on our 3rd. It is a delayed 3rd base, bear that in mind. We did go 1-1-1 before that. We prioritized the Banshee and the Cloak as a result. So GuMiho, he's sacrificing some of his economy in favor of Banshees. And again, Banshees, they're not just designed to get economic damage done, but they also help defend against roach pushes. Speaking of, Dark is going for a roach warren, but this is a, what, 5-minute 20 roach warren timing? Far later than the previous game. This is not to go for an early roach push, this is just for a roach composition when it comes to the army of Dark. Stark is just saturating his 3 bases, keeping up with the Hellions. Should be working on 1-1 momentarily, and there we go. Both Evo chambers are thrown down for those upgrades. And Dark is just getting nicely situated here on his 3 bases. Behind this, GuMiho will eventually be expanding and taking his own 3rd. When it comes to the Banshee commitments, he did get Cloak and only made 2 Banshees. Now, 2 Banshees do one-shot workers. They can do a lot of economic damage. They could also try to dive on top of the Queens, as these Queens do not have a lot of energy for transfuse. Here go the Banshees. They have arrived. They're going straight for the workers. They don't quite catch any yet. They go for the high-energy Queen. And they will get the Queen. Try to get another. There is no detection. At the same time, Lings, they get eyes on the 3rd base. They do force the Hellions back home. So thankfully, Dark isn't being punished for bringing his Queens forward. And we are going straight into an infestation pit. Let's go. I'm ready for it. This is what I was really excited about when it comes to the changes to the Infestor. Dark already was going Roach Infestor in ZvT, making 3 safety Infestors. Now this is even stronger because you don't have to invest into pathogen glands. Now when you make an Infestor, it already has enough NG for fungals. Of course, with this, Dark can also start taking towards Hive Tech. But the push has arrived. Yeah, there's only 1 tank with this push. But we have plenty of Hellions, we have plenty of Marines. The Ravagers are still on the way! The Ravagers are still being morphed in. Oh, this timing here from GuMiho may just be too much. Files, they take down the tank. And it looks like we have enough Roaches here to survive. The Banshees are going ham, though. They focus down so many of those Roaches. We've run out of Queens. But Dark does force back the army. Dark does survive. He also doesn't really lose many workers. As I say that, 2 drones go down, but for the most part, his economy is safe. Oof. As a 4th drone falls as well. Dark going to be threatening a counterattack, trying to force these Banshees to turn around. And there are those 3 Infestors that we were talking about. 3 Infestors to support the army. Back at home, these Roaches aren't going to find too much damage, or they shouldn't. As there is a tank in position, but it looks like not quite within range of the mineral line. SCVs are going down. Meanwhile, back at home, the Banshees are forced back. As Dark turns back around. His worker count less than ideal. He's on 3-base saturation, yes. But again, he is struggling. The Infestors have arrived. Here comes the 2nd wave for GuMiho. How many tanks does he have? He has 2 tanks. Looking to get in position. Ooh, no Ravagers already. We need Ravagers to deal with those tanks. Yeah, the tanks are getting in position. Only 2 Ravagers morph in. The rest of them got focused down earlier. Oh, we have some decent fungals. Yeah, good fungals on the Bio Army. Is it going to be enough? It looks like it barely may, but we have reinforcements coming in. We need to connect with the Biles. Oh, they do not get that. They get 1 tank, but not the other. And GuMiho is going for those Infestors. He wants them. He gets the Ravager, gets 1 Infestor, gets a 2nd, gets a 3rd, and this is too much damage. GuMiho, he has broken through. He has broken Dark. The Queens fall one after the other. Again, Dark losing those Ravagers earlier on was too much. GG gets called, and GuMiho takes game 2. We're going to the ace match. We are going to game 3. GG. And again, when it came to the very first push, when the Banshees focused down the Ravagers, like, we needed to preserve those Ravagers for the later timing as well. That's the thing with these bio tank pushes. Without Ravagers, those tanks, they have free reign of your army, and they just go to town on it. And those two tanks were putting in a lot of work. They were dishing out a lot of damage, and Dark just could not deal with it, could not keep up, was overwhelmed in the end. And now we have an ace match. We're going all the way to game 3. Game number 3. And it's going to be on Oceanborn. Oceanborn is coming up next. We're going under the sea. Under the sea, Papi. And this is going to be an interesting one as well. The expansion patterns on this map are a lot more linear, unfortunately. Or depending on how you look at it. The first 3 bases are pretty cut and dry. You do have a lot of high ground to take advantage of as well. The rush distance by ground is pretty comparable to Side Delta, if I'm not mistaken. I actually haven't... You know what? I actually haven't quite checked here. I haven't compared rush distances yet, but I am curious when it comes to Oceanborn and Side Delta. I'm checking. $34, $35. Okay, so Oceanborn does have a slightly shorter rush distance compared to Side Delta, which could come into play. But here we go, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing Dragon Kai Z Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Terran player, tying up the series 1-1 in that last game. It is GuMiho. We go. Why do people have problems with the Cyclones? They're pretty bad. There have been some really good all-ins. There are some really good, really strong all-ins with Cyclones that we have seen against Protoss and against Zerg as well. But as we saw in the previous game, it's really important actually. Oh, as we're going for a pull first, but it's really important to get on top of them early on. If to wind it all back, if you remember, Dark, he actually got on top of and killed both Cyclones before the 3rd and 4th Hellion showed up. If he had waited any longer, and if that 3rd and 4th Hellion had joined with the main army of GuMiho, then having those things surround and actually catch those Cyclones would have been a much more difficult thing to do. So there was a very kind of like short window there where Dark was able to take advantage of those Cyclones before they had enough supportive units. That's the other thing to bear in mind, is that when it comes to ZvT, it typically isn't a good thing to mass Cyclones. They do need, especially against Lings early on, they do need Hellions to support them. They do need other units involved. At least with how GuMiho was using them. Meanwhile, oh my god, it was a pull first, and we are skipping Ling speed. We're going straight for an early Roach War, and Dark, my god, being very aggressive here in game 3. And again, he did find success with aggression in game 1, so it makes sense for him to divert back to that here in game number 3. Ooh, as we do have a Marine opener here from GuMiho. Lings are going to be able to get on top of at least one of these Marines. 2 Lings are going to be peeled off. Let's try to hunt this one down. The other 4 go straight for the natural. Marine does get caught out. And in the end, both Marines will fall. SCVs are being pulled off the mineral line. CC is delayed. And this is merely the beginning. GuMiho, he may be punished. He's going for a low ground Rax into a high ground factory. The add-ons, the production is exposed. And Roaches are on the way. And GuMiho has no idea.
Complete.
There's a lot that's coming into play into this game, but GuMiho, he skipped his SCV scout, he skipped his Reaper scout, he doesn't know he's being rushed, he doesn't know that Roaches are on the way across the map. GuMiho is in the dark. Now he is making one safety Cyclone, and that's gonna add quite a lot of DPS here to the early game of GuMiho. This one Cyclone is all that he really has against the wave of Roaches that are coming across the map. Marines are on the way as well. And again, GuMiho, Dark, he can take control of this Rax. He can shut down the reactor. Cyclone has arrived. So far, decent lock-ons, but the lock-ons are being broken. Dark getting on top of the Cyclone. Does get a couple of hits in. Can he get on top of it though? So far, good kiting out of GuMiho, keeping that Cyclone alive, getting a lot of damage done. Takes down one Roach, takes down a second Roach, and he will shut this down. The Cyclone finally falls, but the damage has been done, and GuMiho shuts down this Roach push. Oh, Dark in a bit of trouble here. That was a big investment, and what did Dark get? With 3 Roaches and 2 Ravagers, he got a Cyclone. He got a Cyclone. He got a couple of Marines, I guess. An expensive loss. An expensive loss here for Dark. Very gas intensive. And now he's working towards a 3rd base. He's going to try to drone back up. He does not have Ling speed. And GuMiho is going straight for a 3rd TC. A very strong start here for GuMiho. And again, I do think that Cyclones are maybe the strongest here in the early game. They do give you a lot of defensive utility, or not just defensive, but just utility overall. And yeah, GuMiho is just going to be able to wall off, get into his additional Raxes, get into his 3rd TC. It's going to be on Dark to recover. And what kind of direction are we going in? So we have a lair on the way. We have a 3rd gas geyser as well. This should just be for Roach play, but we could end up taking in a different direction. It's possible. Considering the state of the game here, Dark may feel pressured to, I don't know, go for like Spire tech, go for Mutas. That'd be interesting. But his opponent's already like contained to 2 bases. Already working on Bio. Starport now on the way. Stim in production as well. Oh boy. As yeah, Dark is just focusing on resaturating his bases. Focusing, well, just stuck at home essentially. Both players stuck at home. But GuMiho is going to be the first to be active again. Once he gets his medevacs, once he gets his bio drop out on the map, he can start harassing, he can start poking, prodding, and putting the pressure on Dark again. Meanwhile, we didn't take the 4th gas. I was waiting to see. I was waiting like, hey, if we take a 4th gas, we could go into Spire Tech. We can maybe try to rush into an infestation pit. But no, we are going to be staying on 3 gases, going for Evo Chambers, 1-1, Roach speed, just Roach Ravager. Overseer slips into the main base, confirming the bio production, confirming the Raxes. Does Dark, has he seen the 3rd? He hasn't seen the 3rd CC yet. The Changeling wants to see. Let him in. The Changeling will confirm the 3rd base on location. Will confirm the saturation. And there it is. There's that infestation pit from Dark alongside the 4th gas geyser. This will be for infestors again. Roach Ravager army does need the support of those infestors. Dark, it looked like he wanted to take a 4th base here, but we have seen that this low ground 4th is very difficult to hold on to, especially because there's high ground right next to it. So tank positions are deadly here in this area. So Dark is taking the linear 4th instead, as the bio army is pushing through the center of the map. Bio will be forced back by the Roaches. Infestors are on the way, 1-1 as well. This time it's only going to be 2 Infestors. Oh, we're getting into Burrow. Burrow, we're taking up towards Hive, Baneling Nest. So Ling, Bane, Roach, Ravager is going to be the composition of choice for the time being for Dark. But I'm pretty sure with this Hive tech, Dark wants to tech up into... Oh, as we scan. Scan does reveal the Hive! Which means GuMiho knows that Dark is a little bit vulnerable at the moment. Oh boy. I was going to say that I'm sure with the Hive tech we want to rush into Lurkers and Vipers, but we'll see. We'll see what kind of direction Dark decides to go in. A good target firing out of GuMiho takes down a Ravager already. Ling speed isn't done. Baneling speed is on the way. Again, these Infestors, they will help support the Ling Bane as well to lock down the army. But we need time. Ooh, good tank shots. 1 Infestor goes down. Not a good start. Dark, he's in a bit of trouble. He does have 2 fungals left. These fungals, they do keep him safe from a dive. They do keep him safe from the Marines, but the tanks are slowly pushing forward. As GuMiho is going to rotate around. He doesn't like his chances. He doesn't want to get surrounded. So he will back off. I think that's a wise choice. I think pushing here towards the natural is really risky because you can very easily be surrounded here from the left-hand side. So GuMiho does back off. And he may even rotate over towards the new 4th base of Dark. Well, as Dark wants to catch this army, he does land a fungal. Tanks are unsieged, and the Biles will connect, taking down one of those tanks. Another big fungal as well. A good engagement out of Dark, and this may just deter GuMiho. No, never mind, he keeps pushing. We were talking about this positioning earlier, how with the high ground with these tanks, yeah, it's going to be very difficult to expand and take the space. As Dark will have to cancel. Behind this, the hive is done. We have Vipers on the way. So it's going to be Ling, Bane, Roach, Ravager with the support of spellcasters. And with this hive tech, we are not getting into Lurker tech. We're going towards Ultras instead. Okay. Interesting. Unfortunately, we don't have the best upgrades for them. Like, we have +1 range, so now we have to restart +1 melee and head in that direction. But because we already have Infestors, like, it does make sense. You know, we already have a piece of the puzzle when it comes to how to support an Ultra-based army. With those Infestors, with those Fungals. Meanwhile, GuMiho, he rotates around again. He wants to try to punish these fresh mining bases of Dark. Ugh. Liberators push on forward. As GuMiho pushes out, Dark pushes in with a massive link counterattack. He doesn't commit though. And GuMiho does, forcing a cancel once again on the 5th base. Miles take down one of the tanks. But Dark has half of his army across the map. He can't really engage, not yet. The Lings are coming back home. Looks like we're going for a Baneling run by instead. We're going to be collapsing on this position. We have 2 Vipers available for Blinding Clouds. The Banelings, they try to roll in, but there is a tank in position. Dark has to be very careful with how he engages. Again, we need to Blinding Cloud the tanks. We need to fungal the Marines. Almost a full surround, and here we go. We dive on forward. A full surround with the Ling Bane, and we will clean up this army. GuMiho loses everything. Only the medevacs survive. He does have a second army. He has 2 tanks available. But Dark can remax. Now, the most important thing is that Dark, he needs a 5th base. He's desperately been trying to take a 5th, but he just cannot. At every turn, GuMiho is there to stop him. GuMiho is taking his own 4th base on location. Ultras are arriving. We have Kindness Plating. We have +3. GuMiho, he scans ahead of time. He does get eyes on the now 5th base of Dark. Oh god, we have a Doom Drop coming in. Dark out on the map. This drop could do a lot of damage. As Dark is forced back towards his 5th base. The drop comes in. Lings are going down as they trickle on forward. We're not doing any economic damage yet, and the Banelings, they will get here in time with the target firing. Oh my god. At the same time, the main army pushes on forward. The tanks are unsieged. Some of them are, at least. Yeah, and this was a bit of a chaotic attack from GuMiho. He is getting a little bit of economic damage here, but he gets bungled, and he will get cleaned up. GuMiho losing on both fronts. He loses his Doom Drop as well as his main army as well. I mean, losing some of those tanks. GuMiho losing a lot of momentum. And now Dark can focus on the main push. He still has his Vipers. He has 1 Infestor. But the tanks this time are sieged. And yeah, this base is going to go down. Here we go. Dark, he's going to commit. We go for Power Bombs instead of Blinding Clouds. I'm not too sure about that. I mean, some of the medevacs are finally going down. Oh, but Dark, he's having a hard time pushing into these tanks. He cannot break that position, not without blinding clouds. He has to back off. Once again, Dark is denied his 5th. And GuMiho gets his 4th up and running. And that's what matters. GuMiho has a comparable, if not better economy than Dark right now. Dark, he's been struggling this entire game. He's trying to double expand. He needs one of these bases, but he just can't get him. We have a Ling Ultra counterattack. Planetary is done. And as Dark tries to establish a 5th, GuMiho also takes the 5th base. That is terrifying. As again, GuMiho, he is going to be pushing on forward. Dark trying to catch some units out of position, but instead he is the one that's caught out, leading out some Ling Bane. And the creep barely halfway across the map. Oh, he does catch some tanks. One tank goes down. Hot pick up there from GuMiho, averting disaster. Not a bad pick off here from Dark. Meanwhile, he's setting up a Ling run by as well. But once again, we take position here on the high ground. And this hatchery is going to fall. Now, what I will say, though, is that Dark has or is establishing a base here on the left-hand side. Finally, a 5th is slowly getting up and running here for Dark. GuMiho is pushing on forward, clearing up a lot of this creep. 3-3 about to kick in for our Zerg player. But now that GuMiho's dealt with his base, he can rotate around, and now he's going to be looking to push into this 5th. He's on the way. And Dark, is he ready for it? He has 3 Vipers. They're gathering up energy. They're not ready yet. Dark going for an ultra counterattack. The tanks are getting in position. A lot of the Ling Bane is going down. Ultras, they catch a couple of CCs at least. Can they take down the planetary, though? Can they take down the mineral line? It looks like they can. GuMiho, his attention was on the main army, and the planetary falls. The repairs were not in time. Here we go, the Vipers, they push on forward, they throw down the blinding clouds, and now Dark can collapse on this position. GuMiho is being pulled apart, and he will lose this entire army. Almost every single tank goes down. The Bio Army turned back around to deal with the Ultras, which gave Dark an opening to deal with those tanks. And now Dark has quite a lot of momentum going his way. He's going for a big Ling counterattack. But now we have Ghosts. Ghosts have arrived. Dark, gonna try to push in, but the tanks are ready for him. Ling's going for a big counterattack with Ultras as well. Tanks are going down. A couple of Ghosts get picked off. And the economy of GuMiho is in shambles. He's down to 48 workers. Dark taking a 6th base. He's not stopping. He's not slowing down. As Dark is expanding all over the place, he catches more tanks on siege as well. GuMiho preemptively just pulling the workers away. And the Lings, they unburrow. And GuMiho at a certain point is going to be forced all in. Up! Taking Banelings to the face. Ay, ay, ay. GuMiho, he's falling apart a little bit here. Again, he was looking so strong, so in control for so much of this game. But here towards the end, Dark was able to find a chink in the armor and just, yeah, start snowballing out of control. Here we go, the final stand for GuMiho, his final army. Bungles connect, power bombs as well in the medevacs. Lings go for a big run by as well. It looks like this base on the right hand side is going to go down. Again, like Dark, he's never going to get this base up and running, but it's fine. He doesn't need it. Not when he has the base on the left. SCVs are falling left and right. Dark just re-establishing himself with more ultras. More infestors, more banelings. And GuMiho is down to 31 SCVs. Basically, one base mining. One base mining here for GuMiho. He's got a couple of Liberators to harass, to be annoying. GuMiho still has a pretty threatening army, I should say. Even though GuMiho's economy is in shambles, and even though GuMiho can't max out, his army supply is pretty intense. And GuMiho, he can still win a fight. He can still win a fight. Dark has to be careful. Oh no! As he does lose an infestor. Once again, Dark just continuing to go for these run-bys. But he runs into reinforcements. I worry that Dark is bleeding out a bit too much. This could still go either way. Fifth base once again under fire. Once again, it will go down. Dark doesn't want to let it go down for free. He's pushing in. The ghost! Up! The fungal missed the ghosts. Files kind of connect. At the same time, though, GuMiho, he's losing ground here back at home. Marines are falling as well. Ghost goes down. Biles are looking to connect. Power bombs as well. Again, GuMiho is bleeding out a lot and he doesn't have an economy. He cannot replace his army. He gets the Vipers. Ah! One Viper goes down. GuMiho, he's all in essentially. GuMiho is all in. He doesn't have anything else going for him. He has to end the game with this. He does take down 2 bases. But Dark is mining from the right-hand side. GuMiho taking another CC. Dark is saturating the bases over on the right. I appreciate this from GuMiho. Drop play. This late, but I mean, he has to try to punish these bases here, and he can't maneuver with his main army, but he gets spotted. He gets spotted by Dark. He sees him with these banelings, with the mines. Yeah, Dark is in position. And with these Vipers, yeah, we should be able to shut down the Medivacs as well. There are the double power bombs. Medivacs will go down. At the same time, GuMiho, he doesn't want to go down without a fight. Denies another hatchery. He is getting his base up and running. He has an economy. And GuMiho was so close. Again, like, winding it back. Like, he had so much control earlier. Things are looking so good for him. He was ahead in this game. But Dark has brought himself back in. Taking a 7th base now. Or I guess now technically 6th because he's been losing some, but... And GuMiho can't really threaten that area. He can't really push out in that direction. Not anymore. Not anymore. Now Dark can comfortably sit back. He can max out. GuMiho has to somehow recover. Again, drop play is probably his best option, but Dark's already in position. He's here. Plenty of lings. Banelings as well. I'm loving the borrowed baits like that have been set up here from Dark. I don't know if they're going to come into play, but they're nice nonetheless. I appreciate them. They're giving him a lot of scouting information, and they could potentially get some like shots off. They can pop off Flappy. in more ways than one. As he's just clearing up these rocks, making it a little bit easier to secure this position. Something that's really interesting as well is this entire game, Dark never had anti-air. Like, he's been killing drops with power bombs and vials. That's it. That's the only way. As here we go. A Doom drop is upon us. Overlords have finished up. GuMiho looking to take another base, but he may lose control of his main. He may soon lose control of his production. But this may just force everything to lift and float over. Like, technically, GuMiho could set himself up with these 3 bases and reestablish his production and max out. He's not too far off from doing so. Technically, we'll see. More CCs are on the way for those mules. Dark has maxed out, so we're gonna push in. Here come the Dropper Lords. Not committing, but again, he's just distracting the army, and he does allow for these overlords to come into the main and take control of the production. Now they trade well at the same time. Dark moves on forward, takes down the main army, gets on top of the base, gets on top of the mineral line. And these are losses that GuMiho just can't afford. Some decent snipes are going off. And GuMiho does maintain control of his main. Did have a tank and some reinforcements. But Dark is just going to chill, just going to remax. Again, he still has all these other bases up and running. He's denying the mining here of GuMiho. And I appreciate this from Dark. He's just going to rotate around. Going to head towards the main instead. We do end up neural some of these tanks. It looks like Dark, he won't quite push through though. GuMiho, he's holding. Will lose a tank at the same time. Dark pushes in, once again getting on top of this mining base of GuMiho. But defensively, this wasn't a bad trade. And GuMiho, he chases down the Ravagers. The Banelings! Oh, not quite going off. Yeah, as Dark, he takes control of the last mining bases here of GuMiho, takes down every single SCV, annihilates the economy. Likewise, so is GuMiho. We're going for a bit of a base trade. We are going for a base trade. The final planetary is going to be falling here to the Banelings. Dark is coming back home. Can GuMiho take a fight? He is in position with his tanks, but some of them are unsieged. The Lings, they get on top of the Bio Army, on top of the Ghost, and it looks like that's going to be it. That's going to be all she wrote. GuMiho has nothing left. GG gets called, and Dark will barely take the series 2-1, advancing on to the semifinals. GG. GG, well, that was exhausting. GG, well played. It was a roller coaster ride of emotions. Initially, again, Dark, he was just being bullied, stuck on 4 bases for so long, but eventually he broke free. Eventually he was able to expand or double expand, get a 5th base up and running, and also the non-stop harassment. If you remember, I think the turning point, I want to say the turning point for Dark was when he went for the ultra run by, when he double expanded, and at the same time he went for an ultra run by, taking out the 4th base of GuMiho. Didn't just take down the base, he denied, I think it was like 3 CCs, killed the planetary, and he got some workers as well. That was the moment when Dark finally got himself breathing room, and when he finally was able to break free from his like contain and actually get map control. It was very impressive. Very impressive stuff. And with that, GG. Congratulations to Dark as he advances on to the semifinals. My condolences to GuMiho. He had a really strong showing. almost took down Dark, straight up. I mean, he took down Dark over the weekend. Here, he almost replicated that as well. Very impressive stuff out of GuMiho. But in the end, his tournament run will end here.